Hey guys, it's Lizzie. I'm so excited to do this live stream because I always eat my videos, and so I just ordered some Thai food that's from a completely vegan place. But today I want to talk about Church of Christ, the church I grew up in, and just my experience, what I liked, hated, my thoughts on it. I think a lot of people who become Catholic talk really negatively about their experience, had a horrible experience. But for me, I honestly loved being Protestant. I had a really amazing church experience growing up. I was really close to every single church with my family. We were there Sunday night, Sunday morning, Wednesday night, Bible camp, VBS, youth group. Like, it was my entire life, and I really loved it. But I do get a lot of questions where people want to know specifically in Church of Christ what my church believed growing up. And I know when I talk about this in talks and stuff, because I was at the Relentless conference this weekend, and one of the things I said, I was being super dramatic, and I was like, we thought Catholics were going to hell because they're not full immersion baptized. And I feel like that's not completely charitable to our whole viewpoint. So this is kind of just my experience. I think I'm going to tweet this out real quick because I didn't announce to anyone that this was happening. So I'm going to put on my Twitter and Facebook. But I also wanted to say right now, if you care about supporting my channel, just watching, commenting, liking, sharing, that's so important, so amazing to me. Telling people about my videos, clicking the bell button so you get notified, all that is so important for my income so I can make money. I spend probably 60 hours a week doing YouTube editing, working so hard. I absolutely love it. I'm so passionate about it. I would never trade having zero personal work boundaries for being able to influence and help so many people. But if you do want to support me economically, I have a Patreon and a PayPal, which is going to be linked in the description. My PayPal is just lizziesanswers@gmail.com. And then my Patreon, if you go to my YouTube homepage, it's there or in the description. So if you do want to support me economically, this is my full-time job, and my rent actually just doubled because my roommates kicked my roommate who lived in my room out of the apartment, and it was pretty dramatic. But yeah, so my rent just doubled. So if you care about supporting me, has my head been out of the shot this whole time? Okay, so Twitter, I'm live. I thought I was going to be talking and tweeting at the same time, but I guess that was impossible. So let's do on Facebook too. But my favorite thing about the conference was meeting you guys and actually getting to see your faces and hug people and learn people's names. This one girl I met told me her entire life story, and it was like for so long, like everything that's hurt her throughout her life, and it's so powerful getting to connect with people on a personal basis. So we're gonna open my food and see what's there, and then I'm gonna talk about Church of Christ, what I loved and hated. So I think I'm gonna start off by saying that, wait a second, I'm looking at, oh my gosh, guys, I didn't have the live chat enabled, I had top chat. So now I'm finally seeing all your comments. So this person just called me a name that I don't like. So how do I get rid of, it's not letting me delete people. Anyways, hi Emily, hi July, hi Christ Soldiers, Lizzie, you're awesome, I love you. Hi username, who's the Orthodox subscriber who I love. So you know who I'm talking about you right now. My boyfriend loves all of your comments too. We talk about your comments together. Hi everyone, hi Jean, hi Lizzie, I love your videos about bipolar. Thank you for all the information. It's so fun. Several people I met this weekend cried when they were telling me about their depression experience because they feel so understood in it, because it obviously is hell. Thank you for coming to the Relentless conference. Hi, Giselle. Interesting to meet an Orthodox on a channel like this, especially out of the USA. I'm actually not Orthodox, I'm Catholic, but I do regularly go to Orthodox. Do you ever come and do talks in Canada? Yeah, I did last year. Basically, if you guys want me to come speak where you live, you have to just ask the person in charge of your campus ministry, youth ministry, adult ministry. You have to just tell them to invite me to come speak, because traveling is really expensive. And so I love meeting you guys, but I can't just like pay $1,000 and fly to where all of you guys live. So, but I might be in Ireland in a couple weeks, so I'll definitely keep you guys updated if I go there. He was talking about me. Yeah, we love your comments so much. But like, good talking about you. Did you ever meet a subscriber at Mass before you were out about converting? I don't know. I feel like yes. Maybe not. I think it might have happened once or something, but the moment I came out about my conversion, it was like swarmed at Mass. So if you're just coming to watch, this is Thai vegan food, and I haven't eaten in 24 hours. Well, I've eaten a couple snacks, but I haven't really eaten. My body's like a camel, so I can like stock up on food and then not eat for a while. I'm not even manic though, but I haven't been that hungry. But the last thing I ate was kale chips at the airport yesterday, and then leftover pâte seiou and kale and rice. The person who led the conference literally made me homemade kale and rice. It was like the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. So I have a trash bag on my bed so I don't spill on my actual bed. So, oh, and then today I didn't eat. I had one little thing of oatmeal, but I don't have food in my apartment. And I was gonna go get food today, but I was picking up some other stuff at Target. And then they had a blood drive going on, so then I gave blood. It was so nice. It was my best blood giving experience ever. I think that now, since I'm vegan, I have so much more iron and nutrients in my body, so the blood flows better. But also, if you go super hydrated, I think it's really good. When I was, okay, transition back to Church of Christ. When I was in Church of Christ, we would always have blood mobiles come to our church sometimes. And all the guys in my youth group never donated. They were so scared. And I was always like, come on, if you're that strong as a guy, like if you're a strong man, but you won't even give blood. And so I tried to get them to give blood, but no, it didn't. But some of the girls gave blood with me. Hello, Lizzie. I'm an apostolic Pentecostal. I can tell you about Pentecost. I made a whole video talking about the Pentecostal movement. And a lot of this weekend, there were a lot of people who were charismatic Catholics who just had a lot of vision type experiences and stuff. I thought there was a straw in here. Anyways, it's something completely new to me. Like, I totally believe it. If someone's telling me that they heard a voice or they saw a miracle or something, like, who am I to say it's not real? Like, I totally believe it's real, that people hear God talk to them specific words, but I never have in my entire life, even when I'm manic. And I don't really care, because I think it's cool that God interacts with people that way, but I'm super content with reading my Bible. You know, like, God has communicated everything to us in tens of thousands or millions of words. So I know how God feels about me, and I know what God wants me to do with my life, and I know God's will for me. You know, it's in the Bible. So I've never really been attracted to the Pentecostal movement within Catholicism or anywhere. And I think part of the reason is because in Church of Christ, we're super against the Holy Spirit. We believe that you are saved when you're baptized, full immersion. Baptist thinks that baptism represents something. In Church of Christ, the baptism itself forgives sins. And that's why some people in Church of Christ think Catholics are going to hell, just because they're not full immersion baptized. And so that was the biggest thing. If you're sprinkled, it's not baptism. That's how we talked about Catholics. And Methodists, a lot of people baptize that way. But I thought it was so interesting seeing a Catholic baptism for the first time last summer. I loved it so much. It was beautiful. They read so many Bible verses. It was amazing. But they don't even sprinkle water. They pour the water on the head 3 times. So also, we hated infant baptism. But the reason a lot of Church of Christ people become Catholic, but also a lot of Catholics convert into Church of Christ, which was what I saw at my church growing up. So many people who were Catholic who became Church of Christ. And one of the reasons that I think they're attracted to it is because Church of Christ, we do communion every single week. and we don't think it's the body and blood of Christ, but we do it every single week because Jesus told us to, and we baptize everyone. So those are kind of sacraments that some Protestant churches don't have. This is Thai tea. It's lemon, though. I think they totally gave me the wrong drink. This is like Thai tea lemonade. It's really good, though. I don't like ice in my drinks sometimes. It's just too intense. Okay, so my favorite things about Church of Christ. Everyone knows the Bible perfectly, and they can quote chapter verse. My dad has complained that for my generation, it's not as good. Like, we don't have the entire Bible memorized. But so we started in the 1850s, the American Restoration Movement, and what came out of that is Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ, Christian Church, and then there have been some weird groups within that, but in general, those three. And the whole point was restoring Christianity back to how it was at the beginning. So our whole thing was, we go by the Bible. We are the early church. And so that's why it's also easy for Church of Christ to become Catholic, because we're like, oh, the early church had bishops. They believed in real presence. And then you think, oh, maybe Church of Christ is wrong about being like the early church. So that was our big claim to fame, going by the Bible, being the early church. Something unique about us is we do not have instrumental worship, only a cappella worship, because in the early church, they only had a cappella worship. So that's the thing. You don't change from the early church because you have no church magisterium. Oh, Giselle, I want to thank you when you gave me that hug and told me it was going to be a key. I needed to say that. Thank you. I'm forever grateful. Oh my gosh, I love you so much. I saw your post on Instagram too. You're so sweet, and it's totally going to be okay. And you're going to be so strong and feel so much light through this. God's going to do so many things through your life. We have communion every day in Catholicism, yeah. Lizzie, thanks for helping me through life. You guys are so sweet. Please join Reborn Catholic's Rosary tonight. What time is it at? Because I have to go to Mass tonight and talk to my parents too. Everyone loves bubble tea. It's not bubble tea, guys. It's just ice. So, Church of Christ, what else? So yeah, we have a cappella worship. So beyond that, there's nothing really you have to believe to be Church of Christ. We don't have any headquarters, which is really unique. So Catholicism is the most headquarters type church. So you have the priest, then you have the bishop, then you have archbishop, then you have the pope. So you have everyone connected together, whereas in Church of Christ, we have nothing. Each congregation is completely autonomous. And the argument is that's what it was in the early church, which I agree with and disagree with. In early Christianity, the churches were way more autonomous than they are today. But one of the main reasons for that is because with a globalized world, when we can connect to everyone through the internet, obviously the Pope is gonna be connected to everyone in a way that the Roman bishop never could have been in the 2nd century. So it's definitely developed over time. But as for the bishop's actual control, that's something that has kind of changed too, because now the Pope picks each individual bishop, whereas in the early church, the people democratically sort of decided who was bishop. So the local assembly was more in charge of who was bishop. So Church of Christ is sort of right in that the churches were more autonomous in the early church, but then Church of Christ, like, they'll say, oh, each church is autonomous, but then it's like, oh, wait, the bishop leads each church. So our leadership structure, instead of bishop, we call them elders, which is, I actually really want to look into all the Greek words of elder and bishop and priest and all of that, because there's different terms for the church leadership in the Bible. But we have about 4 to 5 elders in each church, and then 5, 6, 7 deacons, only men. And then I'd say the other really unique part of, I'm going to put this down. The other really unique part of Church of Christ is that, so this is chicken satay. Oh, I'm so excited. So when I lived in Thailand, I ate meat when I was there, and they had little chicken things you could buy on the side of the road. It was so good, the street food. And it was like maybe 50 cents. And we would eat for breakfast. We would eat like, they were smaller than this, maybe this big. We would eat little chicken sticks, like 2 or 3, and then a thing of sticky rice, and it was our breakfast. It's really good. It totally tastes like meat. Although I don't remember what meat tastes like that well. I think it's really, really good. I was in Christian church. Our upbringing was super similar. Yeah. So the difference between Christian church is, I think they were on the north during the Civil War. Church of Christ was on the south. And that was, I can't remember exactly, but I think Disciples of Christ and Church of Christ, part of the reason they split was because of the Civil War. So Church of Christ was super racist back then. Today, they're definitely not racist. The churches I've been a part of have been super diverse. So women's role in the church was awful. They've scarred so many women, so many young girls by their policies. So a lot of people in Catholicism are like, Catholic women can't do anything, they can't be priests, which I understand why people feel that emotion. But in Church of Christ, women could literally not do anything in the service. Women were not allowed to pass the collection plates for the money. And we passed out communion rather than going up. Women were not allowed to pass around the communion. We could not pray in front of the church. We could not read scripture in front of the church. We could not do announcements in front of the church. And we certainly could not preach in front of the church. Also, only men could lead classes. But caveat, because each church is separate, there's different policies at each church. So in California, the church I went to in college was super chill, and women could lead prayers, lead communion. I led communion at church. I led prayers. I did a sermon. We could do so much, but that's super unique to the West Coast. So California, Oregon, Washington, women are more integrated, but for most of the country, sorry guys, for most of the country on the East Coast, women cannot pray in front of the church. They can't pass out the communion plates. They can't count the money. They're not involved. And I'm going to eat more. Are you Catholic, Isabel? Welcome back. You haven't been on my channel in 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I became Catholic a year ago, but I was Church of Christ my entire life. So it was super sad leaving Church of Christ. It's so interesting to hear so much about different churches. Yeah. And my Christian church was super racist, but growing up, we had a female pastor. Weird. That's weird to be progressive in one area. Are there a lot of Hispanic Church of Christ? Yeah. Where I lived in Florida, it was majority Hispanic, Black. Being white was a minority. I didn't even realize at the time because you're just hanging out with friends. But I remember recently I was looking back at photos and I'm like, I'm the only white person in our youth group. Like, of course, we had other white people, but most people were Black or Hispanic. But it was South Florida, so that's kind of the demographic. So, yeah, but I think it's definitely pretty diverse. These are so good. I cannot stress the fact that we need more of you. Best YouTuber ever. Oh, I love you so much, Alexander. So, okay, stories about women's role in the church. So we lived in Indiana. So real quick bio of my family. So my parents were missionaries in Russia for 5 years for Church of Christ. My parents were both converts from nothing. So my mom converted in the Church of Christ when she was a senior in high school. My dad after high school in the military. So they were both so fired up for Christ, so excited. Independently, they wanted to be missionaries. My mom wanted to go to Russia before she met my dad. My dad loved Russian literature, Russian culture. They went to Wheaton College for seminary. They got like MDiv, MA type thing there for religion. Then they went to Russia. My sister was born in, I don't know, my sister was born in the US for sure. And then I was born in Kentucky, so we were in Russia, like when my mom was pregnant with my sister and then me, 5 years. Then we moved back to the US. We lived in Ohio for 5 years, Indiana for 5 years, Florida for 5 years. Then I went to Pepperdine University, 4 years, my third or second year living in LA in California. So basically we traveled around a lot. And Indiana was so much more chill than Florida. And our youth minister in Indiana warned my family before going. And he's like, Church of Christ is really, really extreme down there. He was almost scared that we were going because he thought that Church of Christ was just super, he thought it was so extreme. And once we got there, we understood. So, there's like cucumbers. That's so good. How much will I eat? Have you ever considered writing a history of the church? Like Church of Christ, there are books already that I really recommend. There's this one book called The Philosophy of Religion of Alexander Campbell, who is he's one of the people who formed Church of Christ. And I read it in high school, like when I was a senior in high school. And I was like, I totally disagree with his whole philosophy, with his whole philosophical basis for Church of Christ. I was like, you're totally wrong. Because he agreed with human stuff, just a lot of really flawed thinkers. So that was a really big red flag back then that I'd probably be leaving at some point. I'm in Indiana, love it here. Indiana's so nice. I lived in Terre Haute, Indiana. I love the state. The schools are so well funded. I don't know what it is about the education system, but the public schools, the teachers were amazing. I learned so much, so many great activities. It's an amazing place to raise a family. We also had a garden in my backyard, so I have to go to prayer. Much love you, have fun praying. What are you eating? Oh, if you're new here, Thai food. So I'm eating vegan. This is vegan chicken. Oh, it also has a sauce. And then I have some other vegan stuff I haven't eaten in the past 24 hours, so I'm kind of binging on food right now. Not binging, like I don't have an eating disorder, but like a camel. This is like peanut sauce. It's so good. So in Indiana, when I was like, this is so much food. Wow. This is going to be food for tomorrow too. I'm so happy. So in Indiana, in youth group, I led a Bible study devotional for our entire youth group. Like I led the Bible study. And once I moved to Florida, we weren't allowed to. So, for example, in my youth group Bible class, I was not allowed to pray. So if we're like, let's start off youth group class, let's start off Bible class with a prayer, no girls, no women are allowed to pray. The only time we're allowed to pray is if it's just women, a just women's group. And once someone is baptized, women are not allowed to teach them. So I learned this the hard way. Women are allowed to teach the children's classes or like a women's only Bible class as well, like I said. So I was teaching the 4th and 5th grade class. So think guys, 9 and 10-year-olds. And this one guy in the class, this one 9-year-old got baptized. So like 2 months into the class, he comes into the class and this other guy at our church who's really bald, big eyes, so scared of that guy. He comes rushing into the room and he's like, you're not allowed to teach the class. This kid's baptized. Women cannot teach baptized men. And I literally almost started crying in the middle of the class. And I was friends with these kids, right? And it was so awful. And I kept in my tears and taught them. The next week, my favorite elder at the church, who wrote one of my recommendation letters for Pepperdine, he said, you can't teach the class. So that was really scarring. And I've talked to people who were more scarred than I was by the whole women's roll thing. These are so good. They're egg rolls. But for me, since the women restriction thing didn't happen until I was 13, I had like this super formative period growing up where I wasn't affected by it. But One woman I went to college with in the philosophy department made this huge Facebook post once, and she was really quiet. Like, she never talked in class, but she ended up going to Brown for grad school. And so I was like, oh my gosh, she's really brilliant. She just doesn't talk in class. Maybe she's shy. But she said, I never felt comfortable to talk in class because in Church of Christ growing up, women were never allowed to give input in Bible classes. And I always thought that as a woman, I can't share intellectual ideas. And then she was saying that at Brown, at this secular university with atheists, for the first time, I feel accepted as a woman. I feel like I'm allowed to have intellectual ideas and to talk and to dialogue. And she just thought it was so messed up that in church, women are pushed down and diminished and encouraged to not go into leadership or teaching roles. And I think a lot of times with sexism, people are like, if women aren't choosing certain careers, like that's on them. It's not because of inequality. But stuff like this really subliminally affects girls where you're growing up and you're not allowed to teach. You're not allowed to pray in front of people. You're not allowed to be in any type of leadership in the church. It really, really affects you. I was on the debate team in high school. So like I said, I wasn't scarred as much because growing up, I could do more in the church. But I was really frustrated because I was in charge of clubs in my high school. I was on the debate team. I was doing so well. I was so good at teaching and ideas and presenting, but my skills were not allowed at church. And that's something that always super bothered me. And the reason that that was a thing was because there are two Bible passages, one in 1 Corinthians, one in 2 Timothy. Or 1 Timothy? I forget. But they say women must be silent in the church. Paul says that in 1 Corinthians. So, one day I was reading my Bible when I was 15, and I noticed that 2 chapters before that, Paul says, when women speak, when women pray and prophesy in front of the church, they should wear a head covering. And so I remember going to my preacher at the time and carrying my Bible and being like, so we say women can't pray in front of the church, but right here, Paul says women are praying in front of the church. And I remember getting some half answer, not addressing the question at all. I showed it to my youth minister, same thing. But in 2 Timothy, women can't teach. And I showed it to some of my friends. And it just like, it angered me that people are so brainwashed that they can't rationally look and assess and critically analyze texts. So, Jeremy Smith, do you have a boyfriend? Yes! You must have not been here for a while, too. My boyfriend's name is Trevor. We really love each other. I just visited him for a couple of weeks, so... Oh, yeah, guys, I'm back in California. Welcome back. I flew back last night. I was sleeping on people's couches for a month. So it's so nice to have my own bed now. It's so nice to have a bed. Last night I just cozied up for so long. But I went to bed really early at 9 and then I woke up at 6:45. And I got so much work done and so productive. I packed up my room. Unpacked? Yeah, I unpacked my suitcases, organized everything more. I went shopping, not like clothes shopping, but stuff I need for the apartment. And I listened to the Bible when I woke up. Yes, context is everything. Women can speak. They just have to have their heads covered. According to the Bible, at least. Modern Christians don't believe this. Yeah, I mean, the whole head covering thing could be a whole video. But I actually wrote a paper on this in college. Part of the reason was because wearing your hair down was really, really sexual. And I mean, it kind of is today. Like, when you're flirting with a guy, you're like... That's why people, like, get annoyed at me sometimes because I flirt with you guys in my videos because I'm always, like... You know? So, I mean, still today, it's kind of like that. But in the first century, it was super seductive when women were, like, hair down. And even, like, 200 years ago, it was kind of like that. And so, also... they associated it with prostitutes and pagan religious mystery religion type stuff. So when women had their hair down, it's like, you're a prostitute and a pagan. You know what I mean? So that just wasn't chill in church. So they had head coverings. And people who wear head coverings today, you would still be considered a prostitute and a pagan in the first century church because the head covering is supposed to cover your entire hair. So people today, like, it's a cute thing. Maybe cute is a patronizing word. But today, people do it, but it doesn't actually serve the purpose that it did originally. You are very smart, Patrick. Thanks. I just read a lot. I think for some reason you look younger right now. It's because I'm wearing a cat sweater. You know what I mean? Like, people don't wear cat sweaters who are 24. They just don't. Okay. So if you're new, if you just got here, I gave blood today. And oh my gosh, at the blood place, the guy giving my blood, he's like, you look like you're 16. And I'm like, thank you so much. Because I'm getting to the age now where I'm getting wrinkles and stuff. And I'm like, no, I want to be 21 forever. So when I was younger, it was so annoying when people thought I was younger than my age. But now I want to look like I'm 16. Do you do any extra fasting during Lent since no meat on Fridays doesn't affect you as a vegan? I don't think I'll ever do fasting because a lot of reasons. So number one, let me eat this first. So number one, I need to eat for my bipolar to be balanced. Like, I have to eat regularly. I have to sleep regularly. I have to work out every day. Like, I just have to perfectly take care of my physical health for my bipolar to be balanced. Number two, I pass out really easily. I have really low blood pressure and I don't even fast before Mass on Sunday. I'm not at all recommending that. Everyone should fast who's able to before Mass, but if I wake up and I have to eat, I will literally pass out at Mass. And I tried to for a bit to do the fast, a 1 hour fast, but it got to the point where I literally was like getting so dizzy standing up and kneeling during Mass. So that's why I don't do the fast thing. It's like 2 health conditions. And then I also had a history of some disordered eating, not eating disorders, but every couple years I love the feeling of hunger and don't want to eat. And I find it so fun to not eat. And it's super toxic. And so if I intentionally stopped eating, it would be really bad. Like, it would totally trigger that type of thinking. So that's why I don't do that. And then, yeah, I'm vegan all the time. I'm not drinking coffee right now. You know, so some people give up coffee or chocolate, and I eat so healthy. Like, I have nothing to give up because I eat so healthy. You can fast from non-food things like Facebook. I never go on Facebook. Yeah, so I feel like I have a really healthy lifestyle where I'm not addicted to anything. I hate social media. I hate being on my phone. I don't watch movies or TV. I do listen to music a lot, but because I was talking to Trevor about this, and I was saying how for fasting type stuff, because people fast from all sorts of things, I was like, I literally don't feel like any of it applies to me. If I was told I can't listen to Ariana Grande for 2 months, I'd be like, okay, chill. I today was like listening to the Bible instead of music, and it was fine. Like, I don't need to listen to music. And what other things are people addicted to? For Exodus 90, people are giving up warm showers. So, I mean, I could do that, but I wouldn't really care. Like, I feel like when you give up something, it's a sacrifice. And there's nothing in my life that I'm attached to at all. I was having this really in-depth conversation with another woman at the conference. And we were talking about fasting. And why people do it in the church and stuff. And she concluded that I'm extremely spiritually healthy. And it's nothing I did. It's totally all God. I grew up my entire life in the most amazing Christian communities. I was taught and influenced to read my Bible constantly. So since 4th grade, I started a prayer journal. I prayed every night. I read my Bible at night and in the morning. We didn't have TV or movies or internet growing up. I had no technology. I would just read all the time. And I loved reading my Bible. And so I'm not attached to technology. I'm not attached to people. I don't miss people. Occasionally I'll miss someone. I'm not attached to any location because I moved around a lot growing up. I used to be really attached to fashion and makeup, but then I was super broke last year, like barely able to eat and stuff, sometimes not. And so because I was so broke all the time, by focusing on YouTube, it forced me to not get attached to makeup or clothes because I literally could not afford it. So I used to be attached to shopping, but now I'm not. So, and if you told me to not buy like takeout type food, I would be fine with that too. So I'm literally not attached to anything. Does that make sense? And again, it's not like bragging, it's all God. I just was exposed to God growing up and in the most amazing, flourishing environment. And so I naturally go for things that are healthy for me. It's so natural for me to work out, to eat vegan, studying growing up. Everything is what I love. Like I've been formed spiritually to where moral things, healthy things are what I love. So okay, I'll read your comments now. For Lent, you take up something too, not just give up. Oh, I know. Yeah. So I was talking about fasting in general, but yeah. For Lent, I'm going to do an hour of God time every single morning where I read my Bible or pray. Just because I haven't been doing that the past couple months and like not consistently. So I'm going to do that for Lent. But that's not fasting, if that makes sense. What about YouTube? I'm not addicted to YouTube. If you told me to stop watching any YouTubers, I could. I love your jumper, Lizzie. It's actually a sweater. I'm wearing leggings. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I can relate to a lot of the topics that you discussed, and I think that I was misdiagnosed. Maybe I actually really want to get to know people who are schizophrenic because they have a much worse stigma than bipolar. And I've met a couple people with schizophrenia, and it's honestly not that bad. They'll have some paranoia occasionally, but it's not. So examples of things that people think of with schizophrenia. They think of someone stabbing people or that horrific shooting at the movie theater where someone was the Joker. That was a schizophrenic person. Or In a Beautiful Mind, that amazing movie, but he has extreme schizophrenia where he sees entire people for years and years. And most people with schizophrenia are so much more chill, not dangerous at all. It's kind of like bipolar. I thought was this crazy thing, yelling at everyone, constant change of emotions. And bipolar, it's just like, oh, I'm sleeping for 15 hours right now. Oh, now I'm sleeping for 3 hours. You know what I mean? It's not that bad. But with it is really, really, really bad, but not in how it affects other people. And with medication, it's really chill. So that's the thing. If you're medicated, you shouldn't be stigmatized as much. But you think you were misdiagnosed? So mental illness isn't hard and fast diagnoses. Anyways, they don't know everything perfectly. So it's kind of arbitrary the way they classify someone. So there's something called schizoaffective disorder, which is bipolar and schizophrenia. Meaning there's a spectrum connecting bipolar and schizophrenia. So there's a lot of overlap in symptoms, apparently. Like psychosis and bipolar with hearing voices could be similar to schizophrenia. You know what I mean? And even with people who aren't bipolar, there's something in the recent DSM, I think the last one, and they said that there's a type of bipolar, which is major depression with really slight sort of hypomania. And so people with depression can be kind of on a spectrum that could be bipolar. Does that make sense? So it's like major depression, bipolar. Someone could be here, but they're not bipolar. So this is the cutoff for bipolar, but that kind of that. So I think it could be the same with bipolar 1 mania and psychosis, where it's like that and schizophrenia, and there's a spectrum, and you're somewhere on the spectrum. But I personally do not care at all about labels and having the right diagnosis. All I care about is being on medication that control my symptoms. So I literally don't care how someone diagnoses me. I just want to be on bipolar meds. As a Catholic my whole life, I learned more about religion from your videos on Father Mike Schmitz. How is catechesis that bad? Well, Lizzie, don't act like you haven't given something up for Lent. Last year, it was the Reformation. Oh my gosh. So, I had this tweet that got a lot of views that was pinned on my Twitter for a long time, and it was copyrighted from Trevor. I stole his tweet. It wasn't his tweet, but he just said it, and it was so hilarious. And it was like, for Lent, I'm giving up the Reformation. So that isn't actually me. But you're true. That is true. You're right. You're true. Okay. Fasting. I literally can't read your guys' comments. No matter how much you deny it, you miss eating meat. No? I've learned to cook so much more being vegan. And so I love how I season my food. The only time I might miss meat is if I'm traveling and literally hungry because there aren't enough vegan options. Then I miss meat because I'm just hungry and need food. So I just miss food. Well, fast from sleeping on your bed. But the thing is, I have to have perfect sleep for my bipolar. So it's like I said, where I can't fast from food. I literally can't mess up my sleep cycle at all. What about editing? I could totally fast from editing, but then I would be broke and not making money. You can't just quit your job. Oh, but I want to talk about that. So, like I was saying, where I had this really long conversation with one of the other speakers at the Relentless conference about how I'm not attached or addicted to anything. So, I have given up my YouTube channel before and given up editing. When I was in Thailand, my first time, I didn't do my YouTube at all. And I was going to give up my YouTube channel completely to move to Thailand to focus solely on ministry. So it's like those metaphors of holding things with your hands open for God. And that's why I hold my YouTube. I could give it up immediately and I'd be fine. Like, I don't need it for notoriety or affirmation or power, you know? I just don't care about any of that. Okay, I need to read. Okay, why are so many people saying fast from sleeping on your bed? Because that's like the only thing I like, sleeping, right? I know some people who only fast 15 before Mass due to health issues. Maybe I should do that. What is your thought on the wall on the southern border? Okay, so I think the main argument for the border is drugs. We don't want drugs coming into the country. So actually, the best way to help drugs not get into the country is not building a wall, because they're coming with boats. So we need to arm the Coast Guard to be able to intervene and find the drugs. And also, they're legally coming over the border in cars and stuff. So we just need new technology to be able to find the drugs. So just building a wall is not going to solve the problem. It's not the best way to make sure drugs don't get through, which is the main thing, right? I mean, there's other reasons that people don't want the wall, but that's something that I feel like Trump really emphasized, and I think most people agree with. Like, we don't want drugs in the country. So someone's like, you should fast from your bipolar meds. But that's the same thing, like, if I gave up food where it's kind of triggering, where I do not want to eat food. It's the same thing with my bipolar medication. Like, I want to go off my meds. That's the whole point of being bipolar. You want to be manic all the time. So, of course, I would go off my meds in a second, but I can't because I need to love myself and love Trevor, and mostly Trevor. I'm pretty good off meds for, like, my career and myself. But being in a relationship, I have to emotionally be, like, I can't be up in the sky with God, like, full of, I don't know how to explain mania, but you're, like, on a whole other level, and every day is, like, a week, and I can totally exist like that with God and with my friends, but with a relationship, you can't. So I can't do that to him. What do you think about tattoos? Because it says in the Bible, you can't harm your body. So it also says in the Bible to not eat shrimp. You know, like, a lot of parts of the Old Covenant don't apply anymore. Like circumcision. You gave that up. So that was a huge thing with, in the book of Acts, they had, like, a huge summit together, all the apostles, and Peter was kind of a big part of the council, and they decided you don't have to be circumcised to be a Christian. So the whole point is that you don't have to follow the Jewish code of law perfectly to be a Christian. So that doesn't get rid of the Old Testament. Like, Jesus said he came to fulfill the law, not an iota of the law will go away. But when it comes to nitpicky things like shrimp and pork, you're allowed to eat them. I don't, because of factory farms, so I don't want to eat fish. Fish are also in factory farms. People don't realize that. The fish are in these rivers, like fish. They have no space to swim. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, fish aren't meat. It's more ethical, but it's not more ethical. They still feel pain. They have eyes. They have emotion. They have brains. Fish are amazing. And also, most fish have, like, mercury and stuff, so you probably should not be eating fish. Eat really small fish if you're going to, that don't eat other fish. But still, the water's so polluted by humans. If you want to eat healthy, you probably should just not eat. The whole purpose of Protestant churches was to correct the errors that crept in and change Christ's original church, though. Is the Catholic Church now correct? Yes, the Catholic Church has not changed from the original church in dogmatic theology. So really basic things like, one, bishops being in charge. Bishops breathing on priests, giving them the power to consecrate the Eucharist into the body and blood of Christ. Apostolic succession through the bishops. Baptism being for the forgiveness of sins. Baptizing people in the Trinity. You know, like, all these parts of liturgy were there from the beginning. And then there are other ways to adapt that worship to different cultures. So examples like the liturgy, the way you sing during Mass, the Bible passages you read during Mass, that was allowed to culturally develop. So there were different liturgies in different cities in the ancient world, and that's fine. But that's not changing the underlying theology. For example, abortion. The church has always been against abortion. Read the Didache in the 1st century, always against abortion. So in dogma and theology, it really hasn't changed at all. So the Protestant reformers were getting really mad at abuses in the church that had nothing to do with theology. Nothing to do with theology. But also, most of the Protestant reformers were just not that intelligent, I mean, some of them were intelligent, but they were not that intelligent, and they completely misunderstood Catholicism. Martin Luther completely misunderstood Catholicism. If you read the Council of Trent, which I did, one part that's really interesting is it was kind of addressing all of Martin Luther's faith versus works things. And if you read that Council of Trent document, it's like, oh my gosh, he completely misrepresented and misunderstood the theology. So, yeah, like it literally says, yeah, go read the Council of Trent. I remember I was at one of my best friend's house and they were watching a sermon, like a Protestant sermon, and someone was saying that, and I pulled up the Council of Trent and I literally found an exact quote debating that that's not what they believe. So any Protestants who think a lot of these things that they tried to change in the Reformation, it's just completely like you literally don't understand Catholicism. So take a vow of silence for Lent. I could do that. See, I feel like if you give something up, it should be hard to give up. And I can't think of anything that would be difficult to give up. Makeup, I've completely given up makeup before. Like in 2017, I didn't wear makeup for 3 months and it was fine. So I'm reading what you guys say. I know someone who only fasts 15 minutes before mass. Oh, okay, I read that already. I'm super behind, guys. I'm sorry. I'm the same. I eat so healthy due to IBS and having a lot of intolerance and allergies, and I work out daily. Lizzie, who are the authors of the New Testament manuscripts? There's a lot of different authors. But for the Gospels, Matthew, one of the apostles, Mark, Peter's best friend and intern. I don't know if they're actually best friends. And then Luke, who was just hanging out at the time. He's one of the early Christians. He's a doctor. He went around interviewing everyone about what happened. And then John is the apostle of John. And then the other people who wrote letters, Peter, Paul, lots of people. What other YouTubers do you watch? I watch a lot of vegan YouTubers, Vegan Gains, Kalal, Unnatural Vegan, That Vegan Couple. The movie is called A Beautiful Mind for a reason. The mind truly is an amazing thing. Yeah, and he was so intelligent and amazing, and I think the point of the movie was that even though he was schizophrenic, it was like an amazing thing too. That's why he was able to be so successful, because of his schizophrenia. Oh my gosh, this is my pet peeve. Trevor actually asked me, he's like, is it the most irritating thing to you when people say pray to Saint Dipna? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I was so happy he completely got me with that. But Saint Dipna probably had something like situational depression. If you have situational depression, situational anxiety, you have zero concept of what it's like to have bipolar disorder. So a better person to pray to would be Origen. He's a heretic, so he might not be in heaven. I think he's in heaven. I think he has bipolar disorder. So if he hadn't... And see, the reason I love Origen so much, one of the reasons he got kicked out of the church is because he thought that everyone would be in heaven, including the demons and Satan. And I've had the same intuition too, where I want everyone to be in heaven. Bipolar is mostly diagnosed by the highest high. Any advice for a friendship in danger of ending? My first thought is cut off the person, because I always am into cutting off people. I think that you should apologize. Like, be like, I'm so sorry this happened. I want to change. How can I be better? If it was for that kind of reason. Have you ever prayed the Liturgy of the Hours? No. Is it where you pray all throughout the day? I could try that. What do your parents think about leaving and joining the Catholic Church? They hated it. The best quote from my dad is he said that my dad is like an artist. Like he's a writer, he writes poems, he's so rhetorically powerful. So this is kind of like artwork. But he said that when I wrote them the letter telling them I'd be Catholic, he said it was as if I got in a fatal car accident and was in the ER fighting for my life about to die. So, like I said, some Church of Christ people think that Catholics are not Christians or are going to hell. But I don't think I've ever said this before. But something I found really interesting is that, you know how a lot of Protestants are once saved, always saved? So technically they can't get mad at people for becoming Catholic, because if you're baptized in a once saved, always saved church, then you're still saved, right? Like, what's the issue? I've always thought of that. Many epic words, Lizzie. Always interesting to watch your videos. I bipolar 1. Takes about 10 years for me to cycle. So cool seeing other BPs and listening to them. Yawn. 10 years to cycle? Maybe you're just on good medicine or something. I don't know. I would be sad if my bipolar got that much. But if I get married and I'm pregnant in the future, I'll be off meds, so it'll be a fun time. I'm Anglican, so I'm not exactly Protestant or Catholic, but I can understand both sides. I love the tradition of the Catholic Church, but I agree with much of the ideology of the Protestant Church. What do you mean, though? Because Anglicans and Catholics believe like 99% of the same stuff. Yeah, so bipolar 2 never gets to mania. But again, it's on a spectrum. So hypomania and mania, it's a spectrum. So God bless you, Lizzie. God bless you. A cow died for that skull, Lizzie. I'm actually not keeping this. My roommate, it's hers. But it's actually totally. Until I think 12th century women were priests. What is someone saying? Maybe for Lent, do a weekly video where you answer questions from your followers only. Ooh, what if I do weekly live streams for Lent? Would you guys like that, or just weekly? Videos take so long to edit, that's the thing. What videos are you working on next right now? So I have a vlog from Boston, a vlog from Nashville, a vlog I've been working on today, I've been filming today. FabFitFun sent me another box, and then my Nashville video is, and like airport video is this company called Anna Louisa Jewelry, who I'm working with. I'm obsessed with them. So a lot of vlog type things, but like there's Catholic stuff in the vlogs. I kind of took a break in January from to pull multiple all-nighters, and I was like, I need to chill, you know? So I kind of chilled. EU, I love you. I love you too. You have converted me back to Catholicism lightly. From full-blown atheist to agnostic Catholic. Basically, I don't know any theology regarding the faith, but I'm sold on forgiveness. And that's just a historian, and everything, literally everything else follows. Where did you read the Council of Trent? Is there a website? Okay, how about this, guys? I'll put the website in the video after. But guys, for a lot of these things, you can really just Google it. Google Council of Trent, faith alone, and it'll come up. There's also, I just Googled it. There's something, thecounciloftrent.com/chapter 6 HTM, and chapter 6 is the faith alone. Let's see. Yep. And then my favorite thing is when they're talking about it and they're like, he shall be anathema. He should be anathema. Anyone who thinks this should be anathema. It's like the least ecumenical thing in the world. That's what absolute truth gives you. With 3 parishes in my town, there's still a lack of youth involvement. There are so many young, empty hearts. How can my youth minister and priest draw them in? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with like millennials and Gen Zs with just being completely apathetic to religion. It's insanity. I think it's so fun to go to church and to be Christian, and I mean it's like the most meaningful innate thing. So it's weird to me when people do not want to be involved in a church. Like when I moved to a new town, it's like immediately church, Bible study, like what can I do with the church, everything.
So I think people might just not be good at commitments. That might be a thing. I don't know. I'm a personality where I'm really, really, really good at committing to things. I'm an ESTJ. Okay, I'm gonna make an updated video about ESTJ because so many people with Myers-Briggs are like, you're not an ESTJ. And a lot of things happened this weekend where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely an ESTJ. People think I'm an ENFJ or an ESFJ, but this weekend we were all talking and people were like, what was the question? How do you deal with being scared of telling people your story? And I was like, understand logically that when you tell someone your story and are more vulnerable, they'll open up to you. That's objectively good. So my way of solving things is just telling you to think a certain way to do something, not to be encouraging, but to just tell you logically why it's a good thing and then to do it. And then someone was like, how do you deal with having conversations with Protestants who like hate on your religion? And I'm like, don't be sensitive. And then the other people in the Q&A are like, I'm really sensitive about it. I am too. Like, I care a lot about our church's reputation. Like, it hurts me. It makes me angry when people hate it. And I was just like, don't be sensitive. It's better if you're not sensitive. So to me, I'm like, turn off your emotion is basically my advice. Like, stop doing that. Stop thinking that. Stop being that. And for me, I can immediately change with some things if I want to. Like I was angry and yelling in my household in middle school and I was just like, I'm going to stop being angry. This hurts me when people are angry at me. I'm going to never get angry. And I stopped being angry. It was just like I chose to do that. And so a lot of people can't do that. So that's why I'm an ESTJ. Also, I'm horrible at emotions. Like you guys aren't in my personal life, so that's why you don't realize. But yeah, I'm really bad at emotions. But like a lot of my YouTube channel is scripted. Like it's scripted. My emotions on camera are scripted. Like it's fake. I mean it's me, but it's like it's forced. I analyze how to be emotional and stuff. Where in the Bible does it say that everything has to be in the Bible? Yeah, that's a good point. Like there's nothing that says sola scriptura. I remember you talking about being not sensitive and I go, I can't do that because I will get angry really quick. Yeah, that must have been how everyone reacted. And I was just like, turn off your emotion. And how do people just turn off their emotion, you know? When I feel angry, I say a prayer to Holy Mary and straight away I feel super calm. That's really good. When I was in high school, I used to be really like mean to people and impatient and stuff with my family. And I read my Bible every single day and it forced me to be gentle and calm and patient, but only if I read my Bible every day. So it totally makes sense that you can just pray and then feel not angry and stuff. Laid back Liz. Yo! Not super makeup and super sorry guys. I was gonna say super animated. What do you think about trad cats? What do you mean? Are you talking about people who go to Latin mass who have cats? What kind of worship do you connect with the most? Do you connect with evangelical worship? Yes! My favorite type of worship is evangelical, where they have like drums and a guitar. It's my favorite thing. Which a lot of masses have that now. I just feel so like reckless love. Oh, I was thinking, what was the song we were singing? In Christ Alone is really, really good. And then my favorite one is I love Mighty to Save. I was trying to think what the other song we sang on Sunday was. It was like I remember it's my friend Fallon's favorite song, but I forget. One of my roommates in college. Masses can't have drums. Then don't be Catholic if you're gonna reject the teachings of the church magisterium. We just have to submit to what they say. Like independent thinking is great on things that you're allowed to be ambiguous about, but don't do independent thinking with dogma or go be Protestant. I know that's really, really mean, but it irritates me so much when people are so like non-respectful and like obstinate against our authority. Like what I love about being Catholic is any of my opinions are wrong. It doesn't matter what I feel. It doesn't matter what I think. I don't have to find truth by myself. It's just, this is what to do. This is true. So, trad cats are traditional Catholics. LOL. Oh, trad cats. Basically, they believe in pre-Vatican II. So my rant about why be Catholic, I agree. I think it's the same way. Like, I think it's the same way for you guys. Like, most Latin Catholics I talk to are not against Vatican II. You know what I mean? But I mean, I would say by against Vatican II, I mean, they're not SSPX where they're like, the church is fake, the church made a mistake. But my thing with people who think that we should go back to pre-Vatican II Latin Mass, you have zero historical consciousness. Sorry, that's so mean. See, this is why sorry, that's like super mean. I don't mean that. You have historical consciousness, but this is why I script my videos and stuff, because I'm so mean. Like, this is my actual personality, where I'm super blunt and I don't care about people's feelings. Like, this is like real Liz. But if you study the high Middle Ages, you're like, oh my gosh, Latin Mass. Oh my gosh, pre-Vatican II. But if you go to like 4th century, 2nd century, it's not going to be Latin Mass. Priests are not going to have vestments. Probably no incense. So, yeah, like, it's cute. Not cute. It's... I'm going to lose subscribers saying all of this. So, by cute, I don't mean that condescending. I would say it's nice and it's beautiful if you like Latin Mass. It's also nice and beautiful if you like 2nd century Mass. It's also nice and beautiful if you like drums. But liturgy is not dogma. Tofu is really good. Why do you think in Myers-Briggs you're an S opposed to an N? So the main, like, easy to identify difference is aesthetics. So N's do not care as much about being super trendy with how they look. They care less about their appearance. They don't have like really cool decorations in the room. Whereas S's are really into aesthetics. They naturally dress better. They like makeup if they're a girl. They're good at fashion if they're a guy. They just have more of an aesthetic sense. So, like, you can tell by how someone dresses and how they walk whether or not they're an S or N. So, an example, so my boyfriend is an ISTP, and the reason I knew he was an ISTP, like, early on, like, way early on, years ago, is because I was hanging out with him and he was showing me this, like, giant crucifix plaque he had in his room, and it was, like, so important to him to be like, oh my gosh, look at this object, like, I love this object. If he was an INTJ or an INTP, he would never do that. But S's care more about their environment. Like, it's so important, their environment. And the reason I felt so comforted by Myers-Briggs is because in my family growing up, my dad's an INTJ, mom ENTJ, sister INFJ. I, like, always cared about my appearance so much, and I cared about how my room looked, and I cared about how I took notes in my textbooks, and I cared about my hair and makeup. I was just obsessed with that, and my family wasn't, and I was always like, why am I like this? And S versus N is really important. Yeah, I just feel like S's are more in the trends. But obviously there's other things too. Like, that's not the core of the difference, but that's one of the ways you can immediately see it. Another thing, S are extremely detail-oriented. So N's think more big picture about the world, whereas S's are more detail-oriented and in the moment. So it's extroverted sensing or thinking. I haven't thought about Myers-Briggs in so long. So I'm extroverted sensing. I feel like I shouldn't talk about this, but because I haven't looked into it for so long. But all I know is my dad is an INTJ. He has the biggest big picture outlook on life.
And I'm the smallest. Wait. Let me see functions, and then I can tell you exactly what I mean. ESTJ functions. Okay, so introverted feeling, definitely. Introverted sensing. Okay. So introverted sensing is thinking in detail about little things. So I'm really good at planning events and planning like schedules, like 6 to 6:30, we're doing this. 6 to 6:15, we're doing this. Like I'm really good at nitpicky things. But people who are more introverted sensing. Oh my gosh, guys, I haven't thought about Myers-Briggs in so long. I feel so embarrassed. I can't explain this in depth. But wait, so extroverted intuition versus introverted intuition. Guys, I'm so bad at this. I haven't thought about it in a long time. So I don't remember. I don't have the functions memorized anymore. But with mine, specifically, I think the one that I identify with the most and that I could understand myself in the most is introverted feeling. So I am so to myself about my emotions. I want to cry by myself, journal by myself, deal with it by myself, and then like a month later or a week later, talk about to other people what I was feeling. But I cannot process with other people. It just isn't who I am. And my boyfriend is an ISTP, and he is extroverted feeling. So he likes talking out loud about things in our relationship and like telling me how he feels. And I don't like doing that because I'm introverted feeling. So that's like a huge, I mean, it's not a huge difference, but it's just something that because I know Myers-Briggs, I'm like, oh, this is why it's happening. I am the same with my emotions. You know, Jesus can heal you from your body. You mean from my bipolar? You like to know and it be in control. Lizzie, my old friend. Hi, Patrick. Evangelical worship is Protestant worship, though. How can you call yourself Catholic and hate Protestants, yet also listen to their music? I don't hate Protestants. I have Protestant books in my room. I read Protestants. I go to Protestant church, supplemental worship sometimes. I have Protestant best friends. Like, Protestants are Catholics in a lot of ways. There was actually this really funny, because Catholicism is Christianity, so everyone's Christian, so everyone's Catholic. In my boyfriend's RCIA, the last time I was in Nashville, the director was saying, every Trinitarian baptism is a Catholic baptism. So anyone who's been Trinitarian baptized is technically Catholic in a sense, just because Catholicism is Christianity. Like, the Catholic Church owns Christianity, you know? So, yeah, I mean, we call Protestants separated brothers and sisters. So they're still our brothers and sisters. Like, we're all Christians. Given that the popes can be terrible people, even though they have infallible authority in specific circumstances, do you think we should be slower to defend Pope Francis when he behaves badly? I don't know what you mean by defend, but I guess it's like in your family, you want to defend your family to the public, but the thing is, it's already public, so it's a weird situation. I guess what I would recommend is to not like gossip about it to the world. Like, I think we should keep a lot of our thoughts to ourselves, but at the same time, if they're misrepresenting the church, it's like we should talk about it. So I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much, honestly, just because I haven't really thought in depth about the modern church, honestly. I'm sure I will at some point, but I don't really care as much about what's happening in the church right now. I think in 10 years, I'll read through the entire history of the church and get to know. I've never seen Tim Hawkins, who's a comedian. What is Vatican II? Can someone explain? I'm not Catholic. So Vatican II was a church council. So you know how there's church councils, like the Council of Trent happened after the Protestant Reformation. Council of Nicaea, Council of Chaldean, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. There's just so many councils throughout the church history. Council of Jerusalem in the Bible. So it was a huge council which kind of brought the Catholic Church into the modern world. It happened in, let's see the exact year, Vatican II. It started, it went on for a long time. So it started in 1959, but then it went until how long did Vatican II last? So over 3 years, 1962 to 1965, they all met. So it was 5 years, 8 years, but it was in the 60s, and we changed a lot of things. So all the masses used to be in Latin, and now they're in English, which is Novus Ordo, and just like everything changed. They came out with like a new edited catechism. The way we think about and understand non-Catholics became clearer. So they kind of sharpened our understanding of like the salvation regarding Muslims, Jews, Protestants, just it honestly, like, so much. And I don't even know a ton about it, but it was huge. And so people who hate it, I feel like don't care as much about evangelism in the world. Because I think that we made Catholicism more understandable for people. I feel like I would not have gone to Mass and stuff if it was only in Latin. I don't know, that maybe I would have. I actually probably would have. But I think for a lot of people, it's better for Catholicism if we can transition into modern times. That's the entire... See, people who don't like Vatican II, what makes me sad about that is it's so amazing to me and beautiful and so cool that the teaching authority exists, that the papacy and bishops and everything can translate Catholicism to modern times, because there's so many new issues that come up, like in vitro fertilization. It's not talked about in the Bible. So a lot of churches can try to come up with their view on it. Like birth control, the type of birth control we have now. All these things are new. And so we need guidance on how to translate that to modern times. And it's the same thing with liturgical changes and stuff. It's so amazing that we can have this authority that God has given us to help us bring Christianity into the world through the ages and understand it. It's so amazing. And so when people hate Vatican II and stuff, it's almost like how Protestants are like, we can only go by the Bible, and they don't want to like move forward and understand that the church moves forward and it redefines and re-understands things, and not redefines or re-understands, but applies like those truths to the current age. Like the thing that happened with capital punishment, the reason that wasn't a change in the church, it was a change in the criminal justice system. The capital punishment we're experiencing now is completely different than any other time in human history. And so it's so cool that we can have the church authority to apply Catholic ethics to the modern age. It's so cool. And so with any sort of liturgical change as well, I think it's so good that we're changing and keeping up with the culture. I think like that's the entire point of the whole teaching authority of the church. So I think it's so amazing and so beautiful. And so that's kind of the saddest thing to me when people are against a church council. How would people in the past have been converted with the Latin masses going on? So it fit their culture. Like in the 12th century, it made sense. We should celebrate Mass that is most revered, not what the culture wants. I don't even know how to answer that. It's so weird because Christianity was the culture at some points in Europe. And so Christianity kind of redefined the culture. You know what I mean? But what I find really interesting that I guess would answer this in the early church is that Christianity adapted all these pagan things. Like so much of paganism, they transformed into Christianity. And so I think that a huge part of the church is looking at the current culture and then kind of finding the good in that and bringing it out with Christianity. So does that make sense? Just like a lot of things, like everything was pagan. That I'm taking off my fuzzy socks. And since we're kind of talking about Church of Christ, that's something that Church of Christ people hated. At some of my churches, they didn't like Christmas because they're like, that's pagan. You took that cultural thing, that horrible pagan thing, and made it Christian. So I know Bart Ehrman, but he's not the best. Yes, he's definitely an amazing scholar. And I think what's so cool about him is that as an atheist, he admits all of these things where we have 99% accuracy, that we know that all the scrolls and pieces of the Bible we have around the world. Bart Ehrman, this militant atheist, is like, we have 99% accuracy that these things all over the world are the original of the Bible. So I think that's great. I love looking at atheist scholars and being like, oh my gosh, Christianity looks true, even from their perspective. But I think the thing about Bart Ehrman, you guys should Google him. He has a website that's like subscription based. And so I think he just wants to be like a really cool person. Like he wants to be relevant and edgy and have kind of this online persona. You know how some professors at schools have Twitter accounts with so many followers and like tweet about things and are so cool? That's what he's trying to do. So he just goes on TV and stuff and says really dramatic things to be dramatic. Like he says clickbaity things. But if you actually read his works and stuff, it's more chill. So he's just being clickbaity. I cannot eat, guys. Wait, Giselle, you're getting confirmed on Friday? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. So you've never... Oh! You were part of the group where you're in high school. But you've already been receiving Eucharist. See, that's so completely different than mine. I wonder, like, how do you feel about it? Because it's like you already are Catholic and you've already been baptized and you're already receiving Eucharist. So you are Catholic in so many ways. I don't even know how the ceremony is. I kind of want to watch a confirmation ceremony because I know nothing about it. There are not any kids in my church, so we don't have that at my parish. Maybe I should make a video of all the pagan things from the early church. One of my friends, Monica, she was like, the sign of the cross is a pagan symbol. And I went on a rant about other things that were pagan that Protestants do. What's your opinion on Mormons? Are they even Christians? I made a video about it, and I probably should take it down. Because I said really affirming things about Mormons, and I said that I think they're Christians, but my Catholic subscribers got so mad at me because technically their baptism is not Trinitarian because they don't believe in the Trinity. They have a flawed understanding of the Trinity. I used to have this memorized, their theology of the Trinity, but it's kind of like God grows or something. Wait. Let's see. Mormon theology. Anyways, basically, they're not baptized. So if you're not baptized, that's a huge red flag. Okay. So they don't think that all the parts of the Trinity are the same stuff. Okay, in Mormonism,
The term God refers to the biblical God the Father, whom Latter-day Saints sometimes call, I'm not going to pronounce that because I'm going to pronounce it wrong. The Godhead refers to a council of three distinctive divine persons consisting of God the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. Latter-day Saints believe that the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are three distinct beings, and that the Father and Jesus have perfected physical bodies, while the Holy Ghost is a spirit without a physical body. Latter-day Saints also believe that there are other gods and goddesses outside of the Godhead, such as Heavenly Mother, who is the wife of God the Father, and that faithful Latter-day Saints may attain godhood in the afterlife. So the conception differs from the Christian Trinity in several ways, one of which is that Mormonism has not adopted or continued the doctrine that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are the same substance. Also, Mormonism teaches that the intelligence dwelling in each human is co-eternal with God. Okay, it's really confusing. Anyways, they don't believe in the Trinity, so when they're baptized, it's not a Trinitarian baptism, so it's not baptism. I mean, it is baptism, but it's not. Muslims got their theology from Eastern Christians, so they have some things right. I just want to know the name of the authors. What's the deal with sister wives? Oh, you're talking to someone else about authors, but you don't want to read books. Airman says clickbait things like you do. Exactly. So that's why I have some, not empathy, but I understand where he's coming from. Like, he wants people to like him, and usually truth isn't that exciting and clickbaity. I am Mormon. What is a Trinitarian baptism? Oh, so Jeremy, I made a whole video on Mormonism. You should honestly go watch it, because I honestly love Mormonism, and like, I respect so much about your church and your theology. So Church of Christ, since this started about Church of Christ, has the #1 attendance rate in all of Christianity. Like, we have really high attendance, and Mormonism is the same, where members of Mormonism always show up to church and are super involved in their communities and have, I think, the highest marriage success rate of any Christian group. So obviously everyone there is super committed, shows up, everyone will take marriage seriously. I love your sweater. I'm watching you from Texas. What is your favorite Catholic book? Eusebius Church History. I say all the time. I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit with water poured on you 3 times. Yeah, so Trinitarian means you literally say in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Okay, but wrong. You do not have to pour water 3 times for it to be the Trinitarian baptism, because in Church of Christ, I think in most Protestant churches, you only baptize once. You only do once. So I was only like put in the water once, but it still counts. Like, I didn't have to get rebaptized. I was baptized. And I had a Catholic baptism, because Catholicism is Christianity. Hi, Lizzie. I'm a Catholic priest in Ireland. Keep up the good work. Are you the one who's flying me to Ireland for missionary type work? Like ministry work? Because someone is. I might go to Ireland next month, guys. I'll make a video so I can hang out with everyone. I'll do like a meetup, you know? Oh my gosh, guys. I'm going to talk about this in my vlog from today. But I honestly was super scared at the store. And I know a lot of YouTubers are like, kidnapped by my Uber, poisoned by my Postmates. People are really dramatic. and make stuff up for views, but I was honestly getting stalked at Target. And I never ever think I'm getting stalked by people. You know, I trust everyone. I'm super not spatially aware. So if I think something is dangerous, it's really, really bad. So I was in this aisle looking at, I was trying to buy like a casserole dish, but everything was $40. And I was like, no, I'll find somewhere else. But I was standing here and this guy comes right up to me and like looks down, looks at me up and down. And like a lot of guys catcall or look at my body a lot. It happens a lot throughout my life because some men are awful. But this was the most someone's looked at me in my life. And he was literally like, I'm here and he's here. Like we could have almost touched each other and he's staring at my body. And yeah, so then I go around the next aisle and then he's there. And then I go another place and then he's there. And I started feeling like there were two different guys who kept being there, but it really, 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 really freaked me out. Is that valid? One, pouring or immersion? So go look up the Didache, Didache, and do control F, so control find baptism, and it explains. So you can pour water or do immersion. Both are valid. Yes, I was so drawn to Mormonism for those reasons, family, dedication to faith. But when I studied their theology on the Trinity, I couldn't agree. Yeah, so that's when someone was saying that Catholicism changes, and I'm like, bishops, Eucharist, that's something else. Like Trinitarian theology is something that will never change. Bruce Metzger, the text of the New Testament. Yeah, that was my textbook in my sophomore year Greek class. We read it together. And that was part of our final, and I had to make flashcards and stuff. It was really, really fun. That was actually one of my favorite things I ever learned in college. Because I feel like in our Protestant department, we didn't talk a lot about church history type of stuff. We just focused on the culture at the time and stuff. So actually getting to see like through the years how the Bible was compiled was really cool. I think my favorite thing about reading that book was I just grew so much respect for the people copying the Bible, because I think a lot of times we focus on I love you guys so much. How you don't judge me. So we think all about these really important saints and martyrs and bishops and writers, like all these really cool people. But I was like, wow, the real heroes of the faith were these scribes who the book said they literally they were like writing like this, like they were kind of squatting when copying the Bible. And I mean, it's this tireless work, copying word for word just with your hand. And they would spend every single day doing this. And I just felt so grateful and amazed how dedicated people could be for the faith, you know? So, and these people have no honor. We never know who these people are, but they worked so hard for the faith. Like they labored so hard for the faith. Do you think that every religion was created by scientists? I mean, educated people who were philosophers, theologians, chroniclers. Christians were recognized as Bibles in 1546. Are you manic right now? I don't understand the connection. I mean, religion is a school for believers, Holy Scripture book. Adrian, are you bipolar and manic right now? I won't judge you, but it seems like it. Would you ever go to one of your fans' confirmations? Yes. Someone invited me to their wedding recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, can I come? So I got an official invitation. You guys should come to my wedding. Wouldn't that be so cool? I mean, I would probably film it, so I guess that's fine. Why not read the volumes of the Apostolic Fathers and the Church Fathers? Their testimony is what was used to prove the authority of the writers. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you want to know the authority of the writers? So, It starts with an H. Wait a second, guys. Irenaeus was one of the people, but before him there was another guy, and I think his name starts with an proved authenticity of Bible. Let's see. Why can't I find it? People who proved authorship of Bible. It was like not hell. I feel like many of the early Christians had the most bizarre, odd names, so it's easy to remember them. But then there's a few things where they have the exact same. Let's see. I feel like who was the first century historian? Let's see if anyone is commenting. There's some. Can someone tell me who I'm thinking of? Who's like the first century historian, guys? I have to go. God bless you. Bye, Christina. I love you. Okay. Okay, who proved? Sorry, guys. I'm so annoyed that I don't remember this. This is saying a lot of people, but sorry, guys. I really am annoyed that I don't know this. Papyrus? Okay, guys, I give up. This is why I hate when I forget things. This is actually a huge reason why I decided to go back on medicine in 2017. Because I was reading stuff and then I realized I would immediately forget it. And so that was actually one of the reasons to want to go on medicine, because I feel like I don't have many motivations to go on medicine because of the whole concept of brain damage or dying young. Actually, no, you can't die young of bipolar, but the whole brain damage thing, I feel like it's pretty ambiguous. But knowing in real time that I was forgetting things was kind of scary. Don't you think that Islam has more of a oneness than Christianity? I'm Christian and will never convert, but I can admire that. Islam has a lot of super orthodox theology. Why is this person with a Greek name wanting to have sex with me? I'm completely celibate. I've never had sex before. I always say that because I was giving blood today when they were asking for like my medical record, and they're always like, have you ever been pregnant? Are you having sex? And I always say, I'm a virgin. I've never had sex. I'm so proud. In Eusebius, I was really moved by, I lost it. Saint Ignatius, you think? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Josephus. It wasn't Ignatius. It wasn't Irenaeus. He was the second person who proved the authenticity of the Bible, but I'm pretty sure it's okay. First century church historian. Maybe it is papayas. It's not papayas. Who is... I'm so annoyed. Is it hell? Is it? Guys, this is so annoying. I want to say this, but I'm going to say it wrong. Hegesippus? Hegesippus? Maybe he was one of the early... Wait, let me go real quick. Sorry, guys, I'm being super boring. I hope you guys are doing something else. Okay, let's see. Maybe it is Hegesippus. Maybe it's papayas. I don't know. Oh, maybe this is. Oh. I'm pretty sure papayas. Dawn. I need to reread stuff. Sorry, guys, I'm being so boring. I'm gonna go soon, okay? Can you stop? Who is this person? I found out on one of your live streams before that you lived in Terre Haute once because you mentioned it, so hey, funny coincidence, you think we're doing something else? Right, because it's just hanging out. I'm building a model car and listening to you at the same time. Like, guys, comment below what everyone is doing while you're doing this. Because I feel like a lot of people do the same. Like, when I watch YouTube, sometimes I'm, like, organizing my room or cooking. Like, I do things at the same time. I'm giving up for Lent, just giving up. I'm doing pixel art online. I'm laying with my dog in my bed. This is so interesting, guys. I'm just watching this. Guys, keep commenting what you're doing right now. I'm eating because I'm starving. We're eating together. Sup, PewDiePie? You're watching PewDiePie? He's so iconic. I love your live streams. Me too, it's so fun. Laying with my dog in bed. Tell us your thoughts on Hillsong. I haven't been to the church, but I love their music a lot. Baker, what are you baking? I'm playing Bubble Witch on my phone. I'm sitting on my couch. Literally, I'm so glad you're doing a live stream today. I was literally just crying my eyes out earlier and I need something to cheer me up. Aww. It's going to be okay, I promise. Decorating a Bible for my teacher. She's recovering from cancer and I got her a Bible as a gift and personalizing. That's the sweetest thing ever. She's gonna be so happy and feel so much hope. Just woke up and fixing my bed, watching this on my phone. Yeah, people normally eat when they are hungry. That's so mean. Okay, but here's the thing. Sometimes you eat because, you know, you have to eat at different increments during the day. But then sometimes you're, like, really, really hungry. So I think that was the difference. You're eating bagels? I love eating meat. Makes my food diverse. Religion causes division. It causes extreme unity. Guys, I don't know how to block this person. Like, it's so sad. The way you went aw to my comment makes me so weak. Thoughts about neo? Charismatic renewal movement? I talked about that earlier. Watch the live stream again. But I was just saying how I personally never hear God directly talking to me or anything like that. So personally, I'm never going to be the one who sees miracles and stuff. I mean, I see miracles all the time when I pray for people and God completely intervenes and changes the situation, but nothing like some of these miracles where someone prays and it immediately stops raining or their leg is healed. Stuff like that I don't see, but I don't need to. Washing dishes. I love when girls, oh, me. Okay, here's the thing though. I was talking to my friend Doug once because I was like, do guys like it when girls call them cute and are like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I think so. And then some other guy was like, no, that's condescending. So is it cute if you're like, oh, if you like text someone that or say it or say you're really cute? You dislike Trump based on media lies and bias, but supported Hillary Clinton, who supports late-term abortions. Someday you will change your liberal views, I think. Other than that, you're great. Lol. So I actually think I haven't talked about Trump that much on my channel, but the main thing that I don't like about him is his environmental views, how he's undoing a lot of the regulations that make it so that lethal chemicals are kind of as a joke where every regulation that gets put into law, you take away 3 or 4. So that's what I think is the most damaging and what I don't like about. Are you okay? Yeah. Thank you. I dropped. What did you drop? Oh, we have an Instant Pot? I've been hearing about those so much. Oh, do any of you guys have an Instant Pot? Guys, so with abortion, my last live stream I talked about the New York abortion thing. But here's a news story no one talks about. So a week ago, there's a Supreme Court decision where I think like Alabama or something was trying to have less abortion centers in their state, and the Supreme Court struck it down and said, no, you have to have those abortion clinics in the state. So guys, the conservative Supreme Court, who Trump elected, is actually not ending abortion. So it's totally, Republicans are just manipulating the base to think that they actually want to end abortion. There have been years and years where Republicans have been in control of the courts, president, Congress, and we still have abortion. So this is not ending up working. You guys are being manipulated. I will say that state politicians are actually making a real difference. But when it comes to voting for president, it does nothing. And by the way, guys, so the Supreme Court is the most important thing for undoing Roe v. Wade and stuff and dealing with ACLU lawsuits that come up to the Supreme Court. So we already have enough conservatives. We have majority Republicans. So since we already have majority Republicans, let's just stop voting in Republicans, right? Like we already have what we want. So just ditch the whole party, unless you agree with the economic views or the environmental rules. But I definitely don't agree with the economic views. So it's like, if that's your only issue, then you got the court and you can stop voting Republican for a few decades until one of them dies. Hey, I'm a new subscriber. Hi, I love you. Thanks for finding my channel. How did you find my channel? I'm gonna go in like a few minutes, guys. By voting for a pro-abortion president is worse than voting for one that may or may not support them. Guys, so I know a lot of people are they care about someone's personal background and personal character when voting for them. I do not care at all. As long as someone, okay, with the exception of a few things. Some things are so extreme that it's like, okay, you're not a good leader. But in general, all I care about is that someone votes in policies that I support. Someone's like, I like murdering babies. As long as you're not, that doesn't affect your decisions, I don't really care. So Hillary Clinton, if she became president, fair, she could have elected a Supreme Court, someone to the Supreme Court who's liberal. But other than that, just because someone thinks like that, as long as it doesn't impact their legislation, I don't care. What kind of logic is that? We have a slight majority, so we can't improve the majority. The way the Supreme Court works is it's for life. So until someone dies of old age or disease, they're in the Supreme Court. So right now, the liberals in the Supreme Court are really young. So it's going to take a few decades for them to die. So that's what I mean. And there's 9 of them. We need weekly live streams. For Lent, I'll do weekly live streams. Do you guys want? I've learned so much today. Now I think I'm smart. You are smart, and just keep reading a lot. I prayed for a choking baby yesterday at Mass, and he immediately stopped choking. Miracles. Bye, Lizzie. I love you so much. I love you, Patrick. There are different ideologies on the court. Justice Thomas, I should have started talking about this. Can of worms. Yes, weekly live streams. I love talking to you so much. I love you guys too. I just watched your Mormon video. Yeah? What do you think? I'm super nice and loving, right? I had 5 best friends in middle school, and one was Mormon and one was Jehovah's Witness. Where are you going in Ireland? I don't know. Can you do a challenge video for me if you can? What do you want me to do? Let me know on my social media if you want me to do a video. Will this get uploaded on YouTube? Yeah. So you can watch from the beginning if you haven't watched yet. Okay, I'm gonna go, guys. I'm gonna finish editing, and it is 4:51 p.m. here, so I'm gonna go to Mass in an hour. I gotta see my priest and receive Eucharist from my priest. It's gonna be super cute. And then I'm gonna talk to my mom on the phone because I haven't talked to her, and then I have to pick up my bipolar medication. I'm so excited. I don't have an appointment for a few days because they didn't have one, but my psychiatrist was so nice. Prescription until I get the yay, I gotta stay medicated. Bye. Bye. I love you guys so much. Wrestling? Sorry, I talk about somewhat random things. It's okay, me too. I love you guys so much.